Welcome to Wine Time Mysteries, where we talk about true crime, the paranormal, mysteries, and cryptozoology with a dash of comedy. This podcast contains adult themes and is intended for mature audiences only. Don't forget to click follow and tickle that little notification bell. Now, find a comfy spot. We're about to start today's episode. Good evening and welcome back to our channel.
Wine Time Mysteries.
Surprise, surprise, I find myself back in an earlier time, though it is still the 20th century, so it's not like super old, super old. Today, dear mung beans, we are going to be talking about Rosemary West. I don't know if you've heard about her before.
No, I like the name though, Rosemary West.
You weren't when I'm done.
Yeah.
Today's episode will be a two-parter, just because this episode is quite intense. Like there's a lot to it, and it's quite long. And the police are coming to take me away.
Two-parter, because it's red hot being a two-parter. Cops are involved now.
It's true. Born Rosemary Pauline Letts on November 29th, 1953. She was born in northern Devon to parents William Letts and Daisy Fuller. Rosemary was the fifth child to be born, which would have added more stress to a family that was already struggling to stay afloat. Her mother Daisy suffered with depression, and just to paint a picture of the times we are talking about, this was during the time that mental health and or disorders were not quite understood, and the treatment for most ailments was ECT. Do you know what ECT is?
I was like,
Electroconvulsive therapy. She underwent that whilst she was pregnant too.
Fuck.
With little old Rosemary in her belly.
Now she'll be right.
Yeah.
Zap.
Listen, after you hear this, you would wish they probably turned up the voltage, if you know what I mean. Some people believe that this would have impacted Rosemary while she was developing in her mother's womb. The ECTs were performed right up until only a few days before Daisy gave birth. They say that Rosemary grew up to be a moody teenager who would daydream and perform. Am I Irish?
I think so.
Fuck me. They say that Rosemary grew up to be a moody teenager who would daydream and perform poorly at school. And let's be honest, weren't most of us?
I was like, me.
Like, isn't that just a teenager?
Yeah.
Is that just not... Like, I even remember going through a goth/emo Wiccan phase when I was 15. I don't know if you went through one as well. You're still there. And... No, you're not.
I'm an emo at heart still.
I think we all kind of are. But I would like go to the local botanical gardens and I would collect mugwort, and then I would hang them in the room to dry, and then I would put them inside little old spice jars to make it look like an apothecary. But I would also collect little like dolls' heads, and I would paint them white, and I would black out their eyes and their mouths, and I'd stick pins in them and hang them from my walls because I was...
Y'all need Jesus. I was like, I like the first part, and I was like, the dolls. I went, creepy dolls.
No, but that's what I did. I did not turn the lights on in my room either. They stayed off.
You're crazy.
Yeah, and I had Evanescence on repeat. Oh, what a time I had.
Whose dolls were you taking?
I would just find them.
Oh, just random ones. Not hacking off your sister's doll heads.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
Ask
Jamie. I did that when we were kids and she had Barbies and I wasn't allowed to in Nelson. I got jealous and I ripped the heads off. If I can have them, you can't have them.
Fuck you, bitch.
That's very what I was like.
Yeah, I like that.
You shouldn't.
I was like that.
Oh, okay. Peas in a pod, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, back to Rosemary, whose parents would end up separating while she was a teenager, which obviously would not have had much of a positive effect on her or their family. She would end up moving to Gloucestershire to live with her dad when she was 16, which was a big mistake as he suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, and he was also prone to being extremely violent and would sexually abuse Rosemary and her elder sister.
I don't like that.
same. Going back a little bit, it is unfortunate for me to say, but it sounds like the apple didn't fall too far from the tree as far as that is concerned, because it's reported that when she hit puberty, she would intentionally parade around the house naked to show off her body, specifically in front of her younger brother, so that he would see her. And on multiple occasions, she would wait till everyone went to sleep at nighttime, sneak into his room and molest him. And he was 9 at the time. And then she would also do the same thing to her youngest brother, but I don't know what his age was when that happened.
Alright, I gotta go now, bye.
I'm coming with you.
Any like incest stuff just gets me.
You're not gonna like this story. But I do save you because I think we don't really hit that until part 2.
Good.
So you have that to look forward to next time.
I can't fucking wait. Continue, because I'm so excited.
Alright. In 1969, she would meet Fred West shortly after her 15th birthday at a bus stop, because that's a really good idea. But don't worry, she thought he was gross and she was repulsed by his unkept appearance. But all it would take for the 29-year-old Fred West, she just turned 15, remember that? Was for him to give her little gifts and spend time wooing her. And when I say time, I just mean like a couple of days. Because like, why not? Whatever. And how many times do I need to say it, girls? Play hard to get.
What's that old saying? Don't give your milk out. What is it? Something
No, I know.
cow thing?
Yeah, but that's why buy the cow and get the milk for free.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's the other side, babe. What the fuck? We're talking about the opposite of that.
I'm like, free milk, everybody.
Take it all. I mean,
Oh, fuck.
that's fine too. That's fine. But the moral of the story is play hard to get. Get as much as you can out of the twat. Duh. He asked her out twice and he was rejected just as many times, but he would always sit with her on the bus and she would even allow him to walk her home. Remember, she's 15. He's an adult man, 29 years old. How disgusting and creepy can you get? Much more, apparently. Like any red flag, he would find out where she worked and persuaded a woman, of whom he did not know, to take a gift into the bread shop that she worked at and tell her, "Man outside." This guy's a dang poet.
Yeah.
Man outside. But he didn't even wait for her to even go outside. He just ended up walking in. So it was kind of redundant anyway. And he could have just given her the gifts himself, but he made some stranger bring it. Anyway, he asked her to accompany him on a date that evening, and boy did she swoon, and they soon started dating. And this guy's a keeper. Like, oh, winner. Winner, chicken dinner. Winner, TV tray, microwave dinner.
Yeah.
More like.
PSA, when they're old and they go for younger girls, it's not oh cool, it's no one their age wants them. It's not a good thing, people.
It also has like, I don't know, like undertones of pedophilia. So
yeah, it's not cool.
It's not cool.
Wait till you're adult.
Like an age gap is okay if you're both adults. Like you're 30 and he's 55. Okay. Anyway, the gift that keeps on giving. She would visit him at his caravan, where he lived with his 2 children, Anna Marie and Charmaine, from his first marriage. Yeah. Without surprise, she became a caregiver to the girls, and within a matter of weeks, she was asked to leave her job at the bread shop to become the full-time nanny to his children, who he wasn't really caring for. And she did. I know. I roll! Woo! Parkour!
The silence is me pulling a face and mouth open.
It's
and
great.
I can't.
Yeah. But it was on the proviso that he would pay her a reasonable wage to do so that she could give her parents the money on Fridays so that they thought that she was still working at the bread shop.
Payment of dick.
Yeah. I'm paying you in cum. Now, remember, this was back in the time where everyone in the household would get a job as early as they could, so they could all give the money back to the house so that they could basically pay for amenities and food and bills and rent and all that kind of stuff. So that was quite normal at the time. After several months, Rosemary finally introduced Fred to her parents, and it didn't go that well. They did not like him or his boastful and arrogant behavior and concluded that he was a pathological liar, without either of them having any type of therapy background, but he was diagnosed by them, a pathological liar.
I don't like him.
Yeah. I mean, what they could have said is, you, sir, are 29, my daughter's a teenager, you're a predator. And I would have been like, right on. Like, that's very accurate. See, the fucked up thing was that her father, William, threatened to call child services on Fred if he continued to associate with his daughter, even though he himself was sexually abusing her.
It's probably that control thing where it's like, that's my property, you can't have that.
And obviously, Rosemary was not about to allow someone else to tell her what she could or could not do, or who she could or could not see, and her parents followed through with their threat, reporting it to Gloucestershire Social Services. Try saying that 3 times fast. Gloucestershire Social Services. Shit me.
I'm like, you can say it, I can't. You're good with that.
Reporting to the Gloucestershire Social Services that their 15-year-old daughter was in a sexual relationship with a 29-year-old man, and that they had also heard a rumour that she was prostituting herself out of his caravan.
Okay.
The rumour was made up. That part was not happening.
Yeah.
Yet. And just like any good old patriarchy would, they punished her, not Fred, by placing her in a home for troubled teens in Cheltenham in August of 69.
That's going to do wonders for her. It's going to shape her into an amazing woman.
Oh, listen, she's already fucked up.
Yeah, but she's going to be...
even more fucked up. Upon her release, she moved home to wait for Fred, who was serving 30 days for something else entirely unrelated. It was for theft and unpaid fines. Once he was out, he stayed in Cheltenham, and Rosemary moved in with him, and his daughters followed suit short after, once they were released from child services. Because when you get locked up, your kids are taken away. I don't know why they didn't try to find the mum. At that time, we'd be like, well, we could put your children in social services, or we could just give you them.
Unless she eats it out of there, or she's dead.
William, her dad, made one last-ditch attempt to stop the relationship and had his daughter examined by a police surgeon who confirmed that she had not only been sexually active but that she was indeed pregnant and was placed into care, but was discharged shortly thereafter on the understanding that she would terminate the pregnancy and move home with her family. But my question is, like when I was researching this, we know that her dad was sexually abusing her and her older sister. Is it not possible that that was all a ruse because he maybe got her pregnant himself, so the request for the termination was to cover his tracks?
Because if she had to stop seeing him as well.
Yeah. Anyway, Rosemary would not yeetus the fetus and refused to move home and moved in with Fred. Her dad told her she was forbidden from ever stepping foot in their home again.
I like that word. I forbid you.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, maybe it meant something back in the day,
Yeah.
but someone says, I forbid you from... suck my ass. Like...
Eat my ass.
Or what?
You've been forbidden.
Okay. I'll remember that next time. There won't be a next time. You are forbidden. It's like you're a wizard.
Yeah.
She gave birth to her first child in October of 1970, and by December, Fred was arrested again for theft and served 6 months, leaving Rosemary, who was only 17 at this time, to care for her newborn child and Fred's 2 daughters. His daughters were forced to refer to Rosemary as their mother and would subsequently suffer abuse at her hand while in her care. While Anna Marie would have emotional reactions to being abused, Charmaine would infuriate Rosemary, as she would not cry or show any sign of grief and refused to react in response to that abuse. That's a tough little girl. That is tough. Charmaine had become friends with a neighbouring child, Heather, who lived upstairs, who on one occasion witnessed the abuse firsthand and also commented on how stoic she was when on the receiving end of Rosemary's attention. She was quite upset one day when knocking on the door to play, and Rosemary answered it and told Heather she's gone to live with her mother and bloody good riddance. Heather was quite upset at hearing the news because they're best friends and she lived upstairs. The same response would be provided to anyone who asked after Charmaine, being told that Catherine Rena West, her mother, had collected her and took her back to Bristol. And this was the same story that was told to their school, and Anna Marie would also back the story up when explaining it to her father once he was released. But all this time, her naked, lifeless body had been stowed in the coal cellar until Fred buried her in the backyard near the door of their flat. I don't know what conversation took place between Fred and Rosemary about what had happened or why it seems like he didn't really care that much.
Fucked up.
That she was dead. And I'm also not entirely sure how she died. There's parts of it that I didn't really want to look into too much. In August of 1971, Catherine, the mother, would make her way to visit Fred's family to ask after them and get the new address before making her way to their flat, as she was depressed and anxious about the welfare of her daughters. Catherine sought to confront him to discuss custody, but this would be the last time that she would be seen alive. Her dismembered remains being found buried in plastic bags sometime later. It is believed that she was strangled in the back of Fred's car and she was intoxicated during the attack. It is also believed that she was sexually assaulted either before or shortly after. Like I said, this is not a nice story, not a nice case. Fred and Rosemary would marry in January of 1972 and move to a nearby address where they would eventually purchase the property, turning it into half-home, half-bed sit to supplement the household income. They welcomed their second daughter together, May June.
Oh, that was the kid's name?
Yeah, May June.
Oh.
October, November.
Okay. I thought you said like around May, June. I was like, okay, yeah.
But they did change it up. That's about May, M-A-E. That wouldn't be the only way they would supplement their household income, with Rosemary going into the game and using one of the upstairs bedrooms for the purposes of prostitution. They would mostly target West Indian clientele, and Rosemary would begin having random sexual encounters with both men and women, claiming that no one could feed her sexual appetite or satisfy her.
Okay.
She was a slut, children. She would become increasingly more violent with her female lovers, practicing suffocation and inserting increasingly larger and larger dildos into them. The amount of head shakes, guys, if you could only see them.
I don't. But like old mate was okay with this?
Just wait.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Seizing any opportunity to belittle them if they resisted or expressed pain, asking them, "Aren't you woman enough to take it?"
Right, Sheila.
I am, Rosemary, but I don't have the girth of a fucking buffalo.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make it fit.
I have a little VGG.
Ouch, well, not anymore.
Jesus.
Yeah. The room would end up becoming a sex dungeon where Fred would participate in threesomes with his wife and take pleasure in seeing women being taken past their sexual limits. They would amass bondage wear and restraining devices, including a large collection of porn that included both bestiality and graphic child sexual abuse. Rosemary carried the only key to the room, but installed peepholes for Fred to get his voyeuristic kicks. They also installed baby monitors so that he could listen in from anywhere in the house, so chose he.
Just sitting down on the couch, feet up. Wonder what's on the monitor today. Like just sipping a tea.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's twisted. They put a red light outside the door so that when the red light was on, it meant do not disturb.
And where's the kids?
Well, they weren't really part of the bedsit job upstairs, so they were downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, it was separated. Rosemary would end up having a total of 8 children, 3 of which were sired by her clients, but were accepted into the family by Fred, who just told them that their skin was darker because they had a great-grandmother who was black.
Okay.
In time, all of their children would be old enough to be assigned chores in the house and were seldom allowed outside unaccompanied by either of their parents or to socialize with anyone else. Not following the household rules met with severe punishment, which was always physical and nearly almost at the hand of Rosemary, and it is said that she would get gratification out of the punishments. These punishments did not meet the crime and were often irrational. Like on one occasion, one of her sons was mopping the floor and she wasn't looking where she went, and she clumsily stood in the bowl of water and then accused him of doing it intentionally. So she picked up the bowl, cracked it over his head and started kicking him in the head and the chest repeatedly because he did it intentionally because she didn't look where she was going. There is another time where she couldn't find one of the cooking utensils, so she blamed one of her daughters for losing it and decided to scour her chest and ribs with a knife that she was using to cut meat. because apparently that was fit for the crime when it wasn't even her daughter who touched anything at all.
She's a kint.
Oh yeah, and there was this one other occasion where she was chasing one of her sons with a knife through the house trying to get him, but it was too quick. So he closed the door behind him just in time as she lunged to stab him, but instead embedded the knife into the door, and she did it with such force that her hand slid down the knife and she nearly severed her fingers. So then she made Fred take her to the hospital to get fixed up. And speaking of the hospital, between 1972 and 1992, their children were admitted to the casualty unit of local hospitals 31 times, the injuries being explained as accidents, and they were never reported to social services, not even once.
That's bullshit.
That's messed up.
Yeah, fuck no.
You hear stories about like a kid gets a bruise because he walked into a fucking wall nowadays, and they're reported to social services straight away. You're abusing your kid. My child walked into the wall.
Especially that many times though.
Yeah, a bunch of different kids all the time. But that, my friends, brings us to the end of part 1. So please make sure to join us for part 2, where things somehow get much more incredibly worse.
Thanks, but no thanks. I don't think I will. That is fucked up. I don't like this. Fuck me.
Fuck me. And on that note, adios, amigos.
Bye-bye.
We're gonna say goodbye. We're gonna say goodbye.
Goodbye.
So, goodbye.